Okay, I've got to hop on an indivisible call here in just a second, but I wanted to share something that Amanda from Amanda's Mild Takes said, because I think she so perfectly articulated the same position that I hold on this issue, and one that I think a lot of people need to hear and draw courage from.
There is no such thing. That's not real. Every session of Congress changes life in America. Every president changes life in America. Every single one. American history is a rolling out of a carpet, right? Like every day we are writing it. There's no going back to anything for anyone. Liberals' desires to get back to normal are just as delusional. I'm not saying this is you, but in general, are just as delusional as conservatives' desires to make America great again.
Yep.
That's just not real.
Totally
or
agree.
possible. Things will be different, and we will have to adjust to what those differences are. But the idea that we can go backwards is not possible, has never been possible, will never be possible.
First off, I love all of Amanda's content. She's fantastic. And she is making the point that I think I have rather clumsily tried to make in the past, which is that when we talk about restoring our democracy, we're not talking about going back to how everything was before. She's absolutely right. You can't go back. Trying to imagine returning to a world that you had previously, having that be your goal, that's what MAGA does. That's what being reactionary is. And as progressives, we should be opposed to any kind of reactionary mindset or politics, right? We cannot go backward to what we had before. Restoring our democracy means that we need to make sure that we create a stable government in this country. But it does not, and it should not mean that we need to go back to exactly what we had in October of last year, because what we had then created the dynamic in this country to bring us to where we are now. We were not in a good place back then, even though a lot of us didn't understand what was brewing under the surface. Whenever you hear a politician saying that they want to take us backward, they're looking with rose-colored glasses on the past. They are trying to invoke a reactionary desire in you, because what was happening in the past was not good. They want you to cherry pick all of the things from the past that you can romanticize, that you feel nostalgic about, and to forget all of the ways that society was worse in the past. And then actually we know that as a species and as a country, we have progressed. They don't want you to look at all of the repressive things that existed, but they want to take you back to that time. And I think Amanda is so spot on. Liberals who just want to go back to what we had before, late stage capitalism and all of the ways that was fucking over the working class, and let the working class, so many, especially white, rural working class folks, be drawn in by Trumpism, by the faux populism of Trumpism, right? That post-capitalist dynamic where the oligarchy was already prioritized within our government. Our Supreme Court, our elected representatives were all prioritizing big business above our well-being. Why would we want to go back to that time? We cannot go back to that time. We must look forward. I think it's good to analyze what was America like for the last 10 years? What was not working for us? What do we need to dispense with? What reforms do we need to make going forward? We're not abandoning each other. We're not abandoning our society, right? I've said before, revolution always takes more energy and always results in a lot of suffering and death. The most vulnerable in a society are always thrown under the bus for somebody else's glorious revolution. But we can retrofit. We can take the framework of our Constitution. We can take the framework of the parts of our society that were serving our needs, and we can excise the parts that were harming us, that were not working, and retrofit with improvements. What are the reforms that you would like to see? I would love to see universal health care, Citizens United overturned, comprehensive campaign finance reform, abolishing ICE, comprehensive immigration reform, taxing the rich, creating an America that is of, by, and for the people, creating an America where we are focused on our quality of life versus corporate profit, right? We prioritize community over corporations, people over profit, the planet over profit. Where in the wealthiest nation on earth, we all deserve and can access a good quality of life. We didn't have that before, so we should not yearn to go backward. If you are tempted to say, how do we go back to normal? How do we get back to what we had before? Don't be lured in by that. That's not a temptation that you want to give into, because it clearly was not working before. That is what created the conditions that have led us to where we are now. We should always be seeking to go forward, to be striving to improve, to not be content with the ways that the system in the past only benefited really a very small minority of people, and was actively creating this two-tiered society where the very wealthy up here were exploiting all of the rest of us. And we knew that it was not going well. Trumpers, they knew that it was not going well. That's why they bought into Trump's faux populism. That's why they believed the lies that he told them, that he would make America great again. And I think one of the big strengths that we have is that Trump is proving more and more every day that make America great again is false hope. It was a false narrative. It was a very open-ended slogan where people could imbue it, right? I've said this before, people could imbue it with whatever meaning they wanted. It was really kind of nebulous and very like generic, right? People could decide what they thought greatness looked like and what time period in the past they wanted to view with rose-colored glasses. What kind of nostalgia did they have? They could plug all of that into that slogan. But now they're realizing like, oh, that's not what Trump wants to do. He wants to take us to 1930s Germany meets like 1850s America. We don't want that. And so we need a slogan. We need a compelling message of what kind of vision do we have for America? What America do we want going forward? That, I think, is something that we've got to harness. People need a vision to rally behind. They need to know where we're going. Trump was trying to regress them. He's still everything that Project 2025 is about is all about regressing America. They are actively trying to drag us backwards to a time with less freedoms, less economic security, less prosperity, more suffering, fewer rights for all of us. And instead, we need a similar generic, open-ended vision of the future that is a progressive vision that says, how do we move us forward? How do we make our life better? How do we give ourselves more freedoms, more access to the good things that we all deserve? None of this, how do we get back to normal? There's never going to be normal again. We just have to decide what we want going forward. Normal was not working for us. So what do we want to create going forward? Stop trying to take us backwards. Stop romanticizing about the past. Stop dwelling in the past. Decide what kind of future is worth fighting for, and then get to work.